Hello, hope you're doing well and welcome to today's video on sleep. Now I love sleep as most of you do, but when I ask people how many hours of quality sleep they're getting, 9 out of 10 times I get a response that they're getting less than 7 hours of sleep. And I've actually had people argue with me in the clinic that they can optimally function off 4, 5, 6 hours of sleep, which is not the case because it affects healing in our bodies, especially if we're trying to recover from an injury. Now, sleep deprivation costs the UK economy and healthcare system millions of pounds each year, not to mention the effects on physical and psychological aspects which impact our overall health and well-being, including our relationships, ability to thrive at life and achieve our goals efficiently, as we're not as motivated, as we're totally drained. Now, I'm going to highlight some studies so you can understand the true importance of sleep. And in my research, I found that men who get between 4 and 5 hours of sleep, on average, have a smaller testicle size and their testosterone levels are equivalent of that of a man 10 years older than them. Sleep deprivation also impacts fertility in both men and women, and it also impacts our cardiac function and rhythm, which can increase our chance of a heart attack. People who are chronically sleep deprived also have a decreased life expectancy on average, and athletes who get less than 7 hours of sleep are 1.5 times more likely to acquire an injury. So it's actually affecting our whole musculoskeletal system and making it weaker. That's the physical side. What about the effects on the brain? Studies have shown that it disrupts our ability to learn and retain information, because if we can't retain it, there's no point learning it, because it impacts the activity in the hippocampus by up to 40%. There's loads of studies out there, so get your head in the books and remember that knowledge is power. Now, a little study on the effects on sleep and immunity found that as soon as you get less than 8 hours, your immune response starts to decrease, and people getting between 4 and 5 hours of sleep have an immune response that's up to 70% deficient. So if you're worried with what's going on at in this current climate, you need to make sure you're sleeping enough. Now, I'm highlighting this because sleep is at the heart of our health and well-being and our vitality, and it's completely free. So no pill, no therapist, no supplement can replace sleep. If they're telling you or saying that they can, then they're totally lying. Now, what are the tips for optimal sleep? So, we want to be getting at least 8 hours of sleep. This is in the form of a consistent sleep pattern, so we're regularly sleeping at the same times, and we want to be sleeping with the sun cycles, as the sun actually dictates when cortisol is released, which wakes us up, and when melatonin is released, which puts us into a sleepy state and puts us into a deep sleep state. So we want 8 hours of sleep on a regular basis in consistent sleep pattern, and then we want to be sleeping ideally 10 till 6, as this is closest to the sun cycles that has been found. Now, it's good to mention as well that studies have shown that between the hours of 10 and 2, or the first 4 hours of our sleep, that's when physical repair takes place, and between the hours of 2 and 6, that's when psychogenic repair takes place. And as I tell my clients on a regular basis, if you're sleeping between 12 and 7, you could be missing out on 2 hours of physical regeneration. But if you can't stick to the 10-6, as it's quite difficult to do in most cases, then make sure you're at least getting 8 hours of sleep. Another really good tip is to decrease bright light exposure around an hour or two before bed. So switch your phone off, or at least put it on a blue light filter. Try not to watch TV, just connect with your family or work on yourself. You can put dimmer switches on in your house with amber light spectrums in to really reduce your light exposure. Even use candles and little side lights. It really helps to release melatonin, which puts you into a sleepy state. Also, try and decrease your stimulant use after 3 o'clock, as caffeine actually has a half-life of around 6 hours. So if you have 100 milligrams of caffeine at 3 o'clock, then at 9 o'clock you've still got 50 milligrams of caffeine in your system, which will keep cortisol being released and keep you in a state of stress, so you can't switch off and sleep efficiently. So if you're going to the gym and smashing pre-workouts before bed, just be very wise and wary of that. So there are some very good tips to work on. The next top tip is to create a bedtime routine. So we mentioned sleeping at consistent times, but having a bedtime routine really helps bring your body into the parasympathetic state where it can relax and go to sleep and enter a deep sleep efficiently. So I personally like to do a bit of meditation and stretching before bed. Got a little stretching routine, do a bit of dynamic stretching, and it really helps switch my body off and my mind off, and I can go into a really nice deep sleep quickly. Breath work is another way to really calm the mind, so I'm going to give you some tips at the end of this series that you can use, but that's something to be wary of. And then if you are really struggling, CBD oil is amazing, and I do recommend it to some clients, and I've used it myself quite a bit. If I'm just struggling to switch off, CBD oil will really help you go into a deep sleep cycle. So that's something to know. I'll leave a link in the description for the company that I use. Also, something that's really key to mention is our sleeping environment. So as mentioned before, with the sun regulating melatonin and cortisol levels to wake us up and put us into a sleep, if our room has any light in it, so even the red light on your TV, if it's on standby, has been shown to increase cortisol levels and start the wake cycle, preventing you from going into a deep sleep. So we've got to make sure our room is completely dark, blinds, curtains closed, and really make it as dark as you can. In addition to this, a cool room is always better, and it's been found that around 18 degrees is the optimum temperature to keep you in a parasympathetic state, which aids a really nice deep sleep. So try this out. I'd recommend doing it for at least 21 days. It takes 21 days to form a new habit, but try it out, stick with it, and you'll notice the benefits within days, within absolute days. So I look forward to seeing you in our next video, where I'm going to be talking about the importance of our breath. See you then.